We keep the 7 high. We keep the 7 high. Allah's my protector and my guide, and my salvation by the day and by the night.
The question is, what's sensible? It's not you learn by doing. You do learn by doing, but you just don't go crazy with doing it before you have the skill.
But that's part of the process, though.
Most of us jump out there before we're anywhere equipped. Most of us, myself included.
I agree. So as a class, why don't we take the lesser of the greater evil and demonstrate as a class that
What
lesser...
is the lesser of the greater evil?
I'm saying a smaller violation as opposed to driving your car, having your car towed,
The lesser
being
of the
incarcerated.
greater evil is studying this book.
I agree with you.
This is the lesson. This is the purpose. There is a total purpose to this.
But
Because,
still,
hold on, ain't nothing you're going to deal with in this society, and I do mean nothing, that a remedy ain't already here.
Got the remedy.
It's already there. But if you ain't read the remedy, and then you doing things, and you looking for something, guess what? You looking for something that you already have. You just looking everywhere but where it is. Why? When you've been noticed that it's there. I can honestly say there is one person who done actually read every piece. That's been every piece here. And I'm amazed because when we're together, he talks. And he can refer to whatever topic in any one of these books and tell me exactly where it is. I can't do that. And I put this shit together. But he reads. And he reads with the intent of studying. And will go back and say, oh, well, man, that piece you put in there on the law of nations, it goes, Constitution is the law of nations. I'm like, yeah. See, when I put this together, let me put it to you clear. It wasn't me. When I talk about how when we focus on something, and when you focus it, that's like you type it into the computer and it goes out to the internet and bring it back. That's what I was doing. How is this thing supposed to be? What is this actually is? I'm asking questions to myself. And boom, boom, boom. It's like it lights up. Different books or things that I'm dealing with, it lights up in the page. So I'm looking at article, not article 1, but in the article 1, section 4.2, which says that the Constitution is the law of nations. And they have a code, not a code, but they have a piece in there that tells the government that when you commit this crime, you are committing an act, a violation of the law of nations. You are committing the highest crime on the planet. Because the purpose of the law of nations, did anybody read the purpose of the law of nations? Hold on.
Purpose of...
The idea and general principles of the law of nations, what it means by the term nation or state. Nations or states are political bodies, societies of men who have united together and combined their forces in order to what? Procure their mutual welfare and security. Is that not the Constitution?
Yes.
Is that not the Constitution? Yes, no, maybe? It is a moral person. Such a society has its own affairs and interests. It deliberates and takes resolution in common, and thus becomes a moral person having understanding and a will, peculiar to itself, and susceptible at once of obligation and of right. To enter the law to enter law of conscience, and yet for reason to be given in their proper place. Such conventions and treaties are often valid by the external law. Owing to the freedom and independence of nations, the conduct of one nation may be unlawful and censurable according to the law of conscience, and yet other nations must put up with it so long as it does not infringe upon perfect rights. The liberty of nations would not remain complete if other nations presumed to inspect and control its conduct, a presumption which would be contrary to the law of nations, which declares every nation free and independent of all other nations. Now go back and read the Constitution and see what it says. The state in relationship to the United States is what? Foreign. And every time they violate you, it's an act of piracy, it's a violation of the law of nations. You're already in international law. Joker coming here talking about some codes, Brother Toby a while ago, talking about this, and that, puts it in international law. Dude, you already there. You drowning and don't know you sinking, fool. Because you ain't read the book. That's staff, y'all, I'm talking about, that's family.
Yeah, with the dreadlock guy.
But it's all here. Every time the police do what they do to you, it's an act of piracy, which is, again, a supreme violation of the law of nations. That's in the book.
Which one?
The Constitutional Manual.
Well,
You know, you might have to get yourself together. When you keep saying it's in the book, you're gonna have to realize which one you're talking about and tell people, because you say it's in the book, there's 5, 6 books.
He said a
No,
constitution.
no, I know, this time, yeah, I'm talking about all the time when you say that.
I said it right off the beginning.
No, no,
that
I'm saying whenever
this
you say it's in the
lines
book.
up, it's in here, the law of nations.
No, I'm saying whenever you say it's in the book, you need to refer to
Which
book
references?
you're talking about.
Yeah, which references he's talking
Because
about.
you just say it's, when you say it constantly, and people be like, well, which book?
You were not following me. You started with the
I'm not
Constitution.
talking about just this time, I'm talking about all the
Okay,
time.
well, I'm talking about now. So
Okay, I understand that.
let's deal with present time. I did say Constitution, it is in here. Now, I do apologize because you may have an older version.
yeah.
See, I got the old version too.
But we did pass it out, remember?
It's only
We passed it out as a handout for all those who had the older books. Yes, we passed out the Law of Nations, we passed out Indigenous Rights, we passed out United Nations codes.
I got you.
Because all of it lines up with the Constitution. All of it. And this is just book 1 of the Law of Nations. There are, I believe, 13. So we went through all the aspects of common law. The law of nations, indigenous rights, human rights. All of it was in there. What the Constitution is, what its purpose is. Because you can't build a house without a foundation. This is the foundation. Our baby should, I told you, the baby should learn to read with that, as opposed to anything else. We say we love our babies, but we do them a disservice all the time. Because I mean, y'all stuff is off the chain here. I mean, I've been exposed to the schools, and I thought we had some problems in Detroit. Wow, when I say prison prep, it's to the 10th power here. And what's even more frightening is when the police officers show up at these schools. They're acting more like a gang than the gangs they come in there to deal with. And I was hurt to walk around and see the behavior and mentality of the teachers and the staff. They were totally okay with the behavior of the police officer and these kids, these children. And I'm like, wow. So they got you convinced that your babies ain't nothing but wild animals, and they got the right to cattle prod. And you got children, I call them prison preps, going to the prisons, and then come back to the schools. You're seeing the exact same thing. I had more than 10 years working in the prison system. Contracting, ministry. And from 93 own up, I saw, just lining up the prison and the school from the cafeteria to the doggone paint on the wall. Going to one of the new facilities and going to a school, you cannot tell the difference. You cannot tell the difference. Doors opening up, bodies moving out at the sound of a bell. Constantly being instructed where to go, when to go, and how. Or there's a riot, a prison riot, and that's what I noticed up at Julie. It's like a prison riot, because I've been in there when there was a riot, and the whole place was in chaos, and I was just like one of them. I couldn't come or go. I had to wait until it ended before I could be let out. As a matter of fact, they call themselves, it's a safe zone. Your ass is in the jail. You in the cell just like everybody else. But it's a safe zone for you to be, you got to stay over here till we get everything situated. Hell no. But it's the exact same scenario. And we are okay with it. I'm like, wow. It is the exact same scenario. And there are several schools like that. And it's okay. You walk to school and the first thing you see is police paddy wagons. How can I go to school? How can my mind be right? Think about, put yourself in the position of them youth. I'm supposed to be going to school. But the first thing I see when I get to school is a fucking paddy wagon. And a bunch of big white hillbillies with sticks and guns. So where's my threat? Is it them that look like me? Or is it them who's supposed to be there to protect me? And you wonder why the kids are getting involved with a gang. What you think they're doing? They got a posse up to deal with that posse. It's psychological warfare.
Weapons of mass destruction.
I'm coming to school, there's a paddy wagon and a bunch of rednecks standing out here, slobbering at the mouth, waiting to hit me upside my fucking head. I wish you would clown. And you think I'm finna go in there and sit down and read a book? And I got all this adrenaline running through me out of fear and nervousness? Come on, y'all. It's not possible. And eventually, the fear is going to mount up until it reaches that point of critical mass, and it's going to explode. It's an old science. It's an old science. We got any questions?
Let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
I was reading a book where the federal government changed the name from Washington to the district in the country called New Columbia. Have you heard anything about that? If so, what's the purpose of it? Have you ever heard it called New Columbia?
Do you remember in the Sacredness of the Black Woman, I deal with a piece on Columbia, trying to get you to understand that Columbia is an ancient goddess,
Oh, yeah, I remember you
that
talking.
there's still a matriarch system. Even though we worship God as a man, everything they do through a feminine religion, and they've simply hidden this goddess or masculinized her. Because Christopher Columbus, there's no such character ever existed. Christopher Columbus represents a secret society who worships the goddess Columbia. Everything that they have done possesses her name. If you want to find out about them, go down to Colombia, South America, and go into the museum of the Masonic Museum down there. All of this knowledge is there. It blew me away when I was in Venezuela. They had a whole piece on it. Columbus is not a man, it's the goddess Columbia. And everything that they have done. Every state in the Union has a city named Columbia. The district is named Columbia. The shuttle Columbia Pictures. Every time you watch the movie, you see her holding the what? The torch, the lights. The Lady Liberty. And you called her what in your day?
Statue of Liberty.
No, well that's the same lady. You called her what?
Oh, my yacht? No.
Yes. No, my aunt is Liberty. Libra, the goddess Libra, the goddess of the scales. Well, come on, y'all see it? When you go in the court, come on.
The blindfold on it. Yeah.
That's her. That's the goddess. She put down the scales and the sword when you see her out there in the water and on the other symbolism. Even though they got you worshiping God as a man, they know the supreme authority, the supreme energy, and how to manifest and what to use to manifest it. Why do you think they got all our women in these religious institutions? It's no accident. Wisdom spoke to me this morning because I was at the print shop and all these mothers was there doing their church, their volunteer work for the church. And I had to step some say, no, be whatever they need you to be. So I stepped into the mode of a Christian and talked to the mothers as a Christian son of theirs. Because it said, leave them peaceful, leave them be. Don't do it. Because the last thing you want is her energy in a disharmonious way towards you. Leave them alone. Let them be.
Oh, sorry.
Let them be. Accept it. I mean, they was working with it. It's better to have her love than her anger. Let her be. She will come back in time. We all going through something. We all having a problem interrupting these patterns of belief that has helped us. We're the only thing that has put us in slavery. And we're the only thing gonna bring us out. We are all in our own way. That's the best way I can sum it up. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned metaphysical, what was it, some metaphysical something, and then Suzar was a book that you referred to?
Oh, Dr. Suzar, she brought us a bunch of material about a year and a half ago. One of the books called Right Use of Will, and it has exercises in there to help you disrupt these patterns, negative patterns that are so hard for us to let go of.
The small blue book?
Yes.
I've seen that.
Yes, I'm in the process of trying to finish up some other rituals that also help to change these patterns, you know, because we fool ourselves all the time, and it's that ego that, you know, tells us, well, you know what, you good, you okay, ain't nothing wrong with you, you didn't arrive, because I done read something, because I was talking to a friend of mine, she's got self-help books from the floor to the ceiling, and I just kept saying, because I'm telling her what I'm doing, you know, as far as how I'm interrupting these patterns. And she's giving me this offer, she's giving me that offer, yada, yada. And all I said to her, I said, well, you know what, Shell, you know what to do. Saying you there and showing it in your actions are two different things. The pattern is not changed. So I'm going to leave you where you at. When you're ready to change it, you will change it. I'm not going to tell you nothing other than what I've told you. Because, I mean, I'm listening. I'm learning to listen. I've been saying I'm there. And so when you done told me you was in the rock, it ain't my business to tell you in. If you're not open, I can't open you. If you're not receptive, there's no sense in me trying to tell you anything. That's my biggest mission right now, is to learn acceptance. For whoever I'm dealing with, my mother, my brothers, my sister, I have to accept them where they are. And I think that brother a couple of weeks ago had mentioned that term to me. I did a lottery. The law of allowing is how he put it. Now, that's acceptance. And it's very powerful when you learn to accept people for whom they are, where they are, and understand we all got a time to ride, but there's no law that says that we all have to get there together. So if some of us have to come back and do it again, then I have to let it be. As much as it hurts, because it does. I mean, you see your brother laying there dying, it's a natural response to want to save him. But if he doesn't want to live, ain't a damn thing I can do about it. Because no matter what I take from him, he will find another way to bring about it. The law of allowing is very powerful. It'll save you. Because we kill ourselves trying to save other people, trying to do something we can't do. And if brothers ain't asking or kicking the door down, I'm not trying to change nobody's mind. I'm trying to help someone who's in the process of changing. It has to be a decision already made. It's like you made a decision to come here today. So my decision was to make sure this door was open. So that when you got here, you could come in. I'm just trying to practice. I'm still learning. I don't think I know enough, believe me. But these formats are here for a reason. The next one was the administrative process. What is the administrative process? It's the most powerful tool that actually exists in this country. It's the only tool that allows you to get your remedy without any interference from them that call themselves government. And they actually fear this process. I mean, it's some things that we just finished up in Detroit for some brothers that literally, they have let us know how much they fear this process. Because we got a couple of brothers going to sit down and talk to the judge and the prosecutor and say, look, your remedy outside of my judgment, I'm now offering you a remedy to get from under my judgment. But it's simply based on this. And we had to be real clever with it. We had to make sure that it would not be perceived as a bribe or coercion. You see, they got all type of games they will play. We simply stated the facts and said at this point, you guys are in violation of more than a dozen of his, as far as his rights. But not only that, you all are in prejudice of the case because there's a judgment over the prosecutor and the judge. So according to the law, how can he receive justice when the judge and the prosecutor have an indictment on them by him? They were supposed to remove themselves automatically. And that in and of itself is another violation. There is no way I can receive justice from you guys. Why? Because just like you holding something over me, I now have something over you. And the law requires you to remove yourself and bring a whole other judge and prosecutor in who are unbiased. You guys can't be biased. Why? Because I got a judgment against you. And you know this, and I am now making you aware of these facts. That this is more criminal violation. You have no business being on this case because there is a judgment that I have over both of you. So here's the deal. Violate, dismiss, return all last off. And like I said, we had to walk through it piece by piece to make sure that it ain't being perceived as a bribe or coercion. All the facts in the law. Now you got two options. You can dismiss it, I'll dismiss it, or you can remove yourself and bring this for another judge. Then I'm going to enforce the judgment. Yes, sir.
There's one thing it's different than this. I'm having a problem with. Understand? When you accept something for value, what are you actually doing?
You gotta resubmit it, right?
You're accepting the contract and resubmitting it. According to the laws of acceptance.
Yeah. Just resubmit it.
Offer me your contract. Give me an offer. Hand me a piece of paper. I accept it for value, yada, 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 or I accept it, or I can refuse it either way. But if I accept it, I'm agreeing, and I'm counter-offering, and I'm sending it back. So what have I just done?
Put the ball in your court.
I've taken your offer, accepted it, and represented it back to you for payment. Now, I offer, counter-offer, suit, counter-suit.
So in other words, they can accept my counter-offer, right? For value.
They can.
For value.
They can, but they usually don't. Problem is, you don't know the next step now.
Yeah,
That's the problem. I accepted this for value. Okay, fine. What did your happy ass do after that? Nothing? Oh, okay. That's fine too.
it's in limbo then.
Huh?
Well, you don't do anything else, it's still in limbo then, right?
Ain't nothing been done.
You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing.
But all they gonna do now is send out another one.
And you accept that for bank.
Well, yeah, but you still leaving the process open. Because there are UCC codes. In other words, there's a code for acceptance. Once you accept, there's now another process. There's a default process for that acceptance. It's still the administrative process. But you now have to explain the language of the actions you did in your administrative process and why you now have them in default. But if you ain't never read the code, you ain't gonna have a clue. Because somebody told you, oh man, just accept it for vanity. And I had a young nephew. He kept driving up to one of these cities in Lansing, and he kept coming at me with his tickets, and we did the acceptance, did the other process, and they pulled him over and found out he had all these tickets, but those tickets were not placed in the lien against him. And I told him, dude, this is not a get out of jail free card. I'm tired of this nonsense. You need to do the right thing. But he came about 10 or 12 citations.
What's the next step?
Huh?
Read the book, right? So what's the next step?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are refused for cause, the cause is fraud, what is it, not constitutional, but what is that other code? Unconscionable contract. You got a lot of ways by which you can refuse the process, but most people just do one step. Like when people come in and say, man, I did the administrative process, and I'm looking for the process, and they give me a part. And we good for calling a part of something a complete process. Nope.
If you, I'm saying, how would that equate with refusal for cause and discharging the debt once you refuse for cause, as far as dealing with traffic tickets?
I'll write on the tickets. The code, refusal, fraud, unconscionable. It's not applicable, yada yada. It's a fraudulent contract. I'll put that on the ticket, and I make a copy of it, send the tickets back, and I attach the tickets to a notice, giving them the laws in support of the fact that it's a fraudulent contract, and I'm not lying.
Well, I haven't followed that process to the last letter.
I noticed that when you said
No, but what I did was I mailed them a certified copy of it. I sent them a certified, and they haven't sent me my return receipt yet. Let me know that they've received it. And since then, they've sent me another notice saying that I haven't responded, even though I have responded.
Yeah,
Is it a notice of default?
you didn't
Yeah.
finish. You did the notice, you did the fault, and the default. Remember when I came in here with the tickets from Michigan showing you their administrative process, the citation, the notice of fault, and then the default. Then they put it into the lien. Did you do the exact same thing?
No.
Well, that's what the administrative process is. Where's your lien? Secretary of State, UCC Division, and then the county.
And that's for the price of the tickets, or the balance of the tickets. Discharge the debt of the parking tickets. That's what I'm talking about. I'm dealing with parking tickets.
How many you got on parking tickets? What debt is there to discharge?
The cost of the tickets, because they're still showing up on their computer that you
That's
opened these.
because you didn't finish the process, is what I'm saying. They follow this same process as what I'm telling you. There ain't no other process for them to follow. When they give you the citation, then they give you that ticket that you're about to be in fault. Then they send you a third ticket. That's the process. Then they put it in the lien.
But do they do the UCC filing? They never do that.
But still, they're saying that you haven't
You ask me,
responded.
I hate when y'all ask me questions y'all know the answer to.
I know.
Have you ever seen
I
your
know.
IRS file in the UCC division? Anybody yet? There's about 5 people who done did a search in the UCC 11, and there's no liens. There's never going to be a lien. So that represents a fraudulent document in the public record. And that represents a false or fraudulent claim, which is $500,000 plus or 5 years or both. It's simple at this point. It should be, because this stuff here makes it simple. And I said there ain't an issue that can come up that you can't deal with between these manuals here.
So who else did UCC 11? Because like I said, I couldn't find a way to do that
Or
online.
what? A UCC 11. We got about 5 or 6 people who done done it, we done done the
Who has
UCC
done
11.
UCC 11?
One of the gentlemen that was in there was sitting over there behind you, but he's left. And there's no lien. So what now that represents the person who's over that registry is involved in what?
Fraud,
Extortion,
racketeering.
a whole lot of stuff. And that UCC certified from the Secretary of State is all the necessary evidence to have the fraudulent claim removed. No, that ain't the right form.
That's what they have for UCC as well.
That's like the, business. That's if you wanna add some more to it.
That's a financial statement.
That's not the,
Yeah, well,
that's not
UCC
The actual
11,
form.
Because they did the search at first, but they couldn't say whether it was all there. That's what they had under there, under the Secretary of State, under departments, under UCC 11.
no, it's a form that he lets you put in the information and request what specifically, and down at the bottom, there's a little box for a tax lien search specifically.
Right.
And then there's a box for certified copy.
I didn't see, I see the tax and lien search, but there's nothing, the certified
The
copy, you don't
certified
get that
copy.
until you,
No, it's a box to when they do the search, you request that you don't want just a copy back, you want a certified copy, because that's evidence on the record of a fraudulent lien being filed.
right, that's
the
not on
purpose.
the website.
Well, you're on the wrong
Talk
website.
to somebody in person, man.
I can't never catch up with somebody in person.
No, not. I'm talking about.
No, but I'm saying, when I
I'm
look
gonna leave
on
that
there,
alone.
that's where,
Any more, okay, any more questions? Yes.
Do the UCC one first, Secretary of State?
No, that's not required. We're talking about a search.
Right.
When someone has a claim against you, for it to be valid, it has to be registered in the state. So when you go to Secretary of State UCC division, you want to search to find out if there's any evidence of a lien. The UCC 11, that's the purpose of it, is to do a search. Whatever the creditor claims to be, you do that particular search on that creditor who's claiming to have a lien against you. And if there is no evidence in the Secretary of State record, there's no evidence in the state, period. And that becomes a fraudulent claim on the record. So with the certified copy saying that there's no lien, no one can dispute it.
So it's just a matter of them just stamping your copy with the raised seal, just saying that they did it because they certified. Because I did that with the
Right, but that's the evidence
right.
that no lien exists. That's not it.
that's what it says at the bottom?
That's addendum. That's
Oh,
not.
I'm telling you, it doesn't say it's different. It says
Somebody
National
give me a break.
Information Request Form, UCC 111.
It says,
UCC 11.
Pat, I think we have those on your computer. Can you check?
you should see alarm.
Yeah, just to help him out. He's stuck.
No, I'm not stuck on stupid, man. Don't go there.
But
Oh, see? You put that there. I said.
No, I know what you're
I
trying.
said stuck. That's all I said. Yes, sir. Huh? Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
there it is.
I'm
Give it
sorry,
to- give it to-
Omar.
Yes.
My question was actually on the UCC one. Do you actually have to do a UCC one? I understand
No.
that was about a search.
No, you don't have to do UCC 1. Only time you want to do a UCC 1 is
That's
when
the
you
form.
got a claim.
Yeah.
When you have to do that.
When you got a default judgment against somebody, that's the, hey, Hep, I know you're busy. Can you pull up the format that you did the last class for the UCC process? When we done the default, the notice to default, the default?
It's, right.
Yeah, pull that up.
And that's the same form I got in my hand.
Is that the,
Yes, that was it. The same one I have in my hand.
That form,
Yes. Except for that one's California, this one's Illinois.
So there's a national form, right, that can be accepted here.
right. But they're all the same now. They're all the same. UCC 11.5 right there, Hep. Well, you already, but that's, okay,
I
go.
gotta pull that one out.
Huh?
That's somewhere.
It's the same form, that was just from California.
Hold on, I'm sorry. What did I just ask you to
You
pull
pull
up?
up administrative process.
Yes, the format. purpose of you filling out a financing statement is for you to register your lien, your judgment, and to have it into the public record. So that now you have a right to go and exercise your remedy to collect whatever it is. Let's say I just exhausted my administrative remedy against you. I got a default judgment. Now what I'm doing is locating your assets. Why? So that I can list your assets in my lien. Now I can go get the writ to execute collection. I can garnish your wages with your job. I can do all these processes because this is my right under default judgment. I have a right to remedy. And I can do all of this outside of the court.
You can call that a writ of collection.
Writ of execution for collection.
So a sovereign doesn't need to go down to the Secretary of State and
No,
lean against
sweetie.
their straw man and
No,
all of that.
no. There's no such thing as sovereignty. What you're doing is you're placing what is called a superior lien against the straw man.
Okay.
And the best way to really avoid all of that is like we showed earlier. You do your expatriation, and you take that birth certificate of the straw man and you put void and attach it as an exhibit to your expatriation. You just cancel the contract point blank. Ain't no straw man to mess with at this point, or to make you liable for. Because that's the whole purpose of this. This thing is set up as a trust. When they went into this so-called bankruptcy, they created a trust, a Sescu trust, and made everybody a part of this trust. Well, this is why you don't own anything in this country. Because of everything is set up, you never get the actual document of ownership. You get a notice that the actual document of ownership exists. You don't get a deed. You get a certificate of title for anything that you purchase where you're dealing with banks and the industries. You never get the actual document of ownership because they send that to the one who's saying he owns you. Because if I'm the state, and I issue a birth certificate to that straw man is the trust, and neither state is the trustee. And that's the whole relationship. That's why you can never get the actual document because you are supposed to be the so-called trust or the straw person. So the owner, the parent, because remember it says that everyone who's created, when we went through the codes, it actually says that a person is an entity created by who? By the government or by the laws of the government. So that 14th Amendment citizen, the parent is either the state, the mother could be the state, the father could be the federal state. That's how the relationship is. So the mother turns everything over to the father. And that's how you get paid, why you have to pay your taxes, yada, 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 because you are the creation of these entities under the 14th Amendment. Yes, sir.
You said attach the copy, you said write void on your on that birth certificate?
Yeah, the last time we went over the expatriation piece, we showed the expatriation document, we took the birth certificate, run it through the computer, big bold letters void, and attach it. Because we killing the straw man dead. So there ain't no more liability.
Yes, you file that in the county?
Expatriation.
No.
You file that in the county, you file that with the Secretary of State, federal and state. You can send a copy to the Vital Records Office, and you can send a copy to also to the IRS. Anybody that seems or wants to say that you own or owe them anything.
So
Yes,
you
sir.
don't have to rescind the birth certificate?
That is a rescission.
Oh, when you void?
Yes, your rescission is the affidavit.
That's what he's saying.
Your
Oh, the
the expatriation is the rescission.
Is the rescission.
Right. And
So when you attach the birth certificate to it,
you shut down the contract dead in court.
as well as the social security card, do you put that in?
Everything, all of that is created off of the birth certificate.
Oh, okay.
All of that is created off the birth certificate. So when you kill the head, the body dies.
So any copy of the birth certificate.
Hmm?
You don't have to have the original, just on the copy.
Yeah, but I'm saying
More
it's
than-
gotta be certified, raised, sealed.
They always are when you go get
Yes,
one.
sir.
Oh, I thought so.
Where? Where you go and get one of them? They all have to be.
I'm not sure, I think with this In the state of Illinois, I think you have to pay extra or something like that.
No,
They
sir,
usually have, it's a seal on it.
they have to have a seal, or they're not
It's gotta
authentic.
have a seal on it.
They have to have a red seal, or they're not authentic. No state will
Right, I
issue
know,
them
I
without
agree.
a seal on it.
Right.
If you have multiple cases, and let's say that you went through the steps of the administrative process, point for point, step for step, and you were victorious in getting the sheriff to do whatever you do, do they somehow make a notation on you, or does that spill over to your other cases in any?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on if you're in the same venue. Because when conversation does go around, when someone comes and cracks a judge in the head, conversation does get out.
Okay.
It does get out. I mean, we had several courts in Detroit that, you know, was like we were talking about town. They were fearful, they were nervous, they were trying to find ways to figure out how to deal with it. So, conversation does go out.
Is that what you,
Yes. Yes. Oh, you know what? We should have done, I meant to say, is put those codes that deal with your right to collect and all that. But yeah, just for instance, this is what I was talking about.
notice one?
First phase.
Well, here's phase one up here.
Oh, okay. A lot of phases. Okay. This is the beginning of the administrative process. The private notice of claim, notice of fault, notice of default. Now in here, you can take another step and do a notarial protest, which is you're asking a notary to act on your behalf and to send notice to the particular entity to have them respond back to the notary. Why? Because the notary represents what, y'all?
Judge.
And how do we know that?
Common law.
Somebody give me a case, the major case that locked this down.
Marbury?
Versus Madison, that says that what is a notary? He has to have a seal, a bond, an oath, and what else? 4 parts.
It couldn't be expired.
He has to have a bond, he has to have an oath. He has to,
And
it has to be commissioned.
There you go.
And under Marbury versus Madison, that is the same status as a judge. So this becomes a third-party witness to your default judgment. And it is a judgment. And if you go back into the cases that we had under default judgment, it's called consent judgment, and under consent judgment it says that it is or as equal to a judicial judgment. It is a judgment just like one a judge would enter, but it has more authority than a judge is entering because it's supported with what? Sworn affidavits. Sworn affidavits. That's the difference. Nothing the court has is ever sworn to.
What situation are you in order to do this process?
Any situation where someone is saying that you owe them or you have violated them, you have a right to question them. In other words, every time I get a claim from a creditor or whoever saying I owe them, I start my administration, my affidavit of notice of validation of debt. And I send them my notice for proof that I owe you something. Show me where you lent me something. Show me how you were injured. Show me what you lost. And I give them 14 days to respond, and I send my notice of opportunity to cure. On such and such date, you will receive the notice via the registered mail number, yada, 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 on such and such date. Your failure to respond, you have failed to respond, therefore, I'm giving you a second opportunity to respond. Your failure to respond will now place you in default. And just to show you, I do have one that this was
Come on, we keep the 7 high. Keep 'em high. Come on, we keep the 7 high. Allah's my protector and my guide, and my salvation by the day and by the night. We keep the 7 high. We keep the 7 high. Allah's my protector and my guide, and my salvation by the day and by the night. through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali is saving, arriving, displaying my fares. The swag's ancient, but modern day part of me like the prison's vacant. Keep the 7 blazing like weed in the pom-pom. Me and Sonny the chief on our dean so we can live long. Text them or make some directions addressing Islam. I bring the vision to your favorite movie or sitcom. The Quran, Drew Ali's prepared me for big cons. Versus West Coast chucks on the surface. Yes, we worldwide, though.